If we are going to separate sports from politics, then we should stop playing the national anthem before sporting events. That's not going to happen, is it? Plus, these days, we separate politics from nothing. I'm Larry Fedorik, and this is Later That Sane Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 16, Chapter 3.
Regretzky.
Regretzky. It's not my word, as in I didn't invent it. Wish I did. I saw it on social media. Don't know who thought of it first. Probably a bunch of people all at once. But it sure capsulizes a one-time sport hero whose legacy has been diminished in the eyes of many because of his political views. Regretzky. Again, don't even preach to me the separation of sports and politics. It's a non-starter argument, in my opinion. As I said, these days politics is tied to everything. Plus, if your religion is what you believe, then your politics is how you act. The great one has been acting not so great lately. And here is the most separation I can give a matter like this. I can still admire Wayne Gretzky's ability to circle around his opponents and suddenly be open and pop the game winner into the net. Top shelf where Grandma keeps the peanut butter. But that doesn't mean I have to admire him as a human being. Just because you're good at sports doesn't mean you're a good person. As a matter of fact, when it comes to sports heroes, history has often shown us the opposite. Makes sense if you think about it. The great athletes have spent most of their life pursuing their sport, and likely almost none of it on becoming a better human being. Of course, this doesn't apply to all professional athletes, but a good number of them. You know, you spend most of your formative years on the field, on the court, or on the rink, at the expense of your education. The only social skills you learn are from being on a sports team. And then suddenly some of the luckier ones get big piles of money thrown at them. I'm just saying not everyone emerges well from that. So where do we draw the line on celebrities being held accountable for their unrelated actions and beliefs? I don't know. I know that we do draw the line, and we do it all the time. Bill Cosby, the comedian, very funny. Bill Cosby, the rapist, suddenly not that funny anymore. Even though his comedy had nothing to do with his raping. It's not like it was part of his act. Don't you just hate it when you drug a woman, and just as she's passing out, the phone rings? Well, I guess you had to be there. R. Kelly, sexual abuser, pedophile. Suddenly his music doesn't sound as melodic, not as toe-tapping as it used to be. P. Diddy, more rapey than rappy. Wayne Gretzky is a trumper. Takes a shine off those Stanley Cups, doesn't it? Well, it does for me. And as it turns out, for a lot of other Canadians as well. CBC headline after the Four Nations Face-Off hockey tournament, Wayne Gretzky's legacy just got a little more complicated for Edmontonians. Yeah, it did. And not just them. Yes, the city of Edmontonia, where Wayne Gretzky first rose to NHL stardom about 45 years ago. The goals, the assists, the Stanley Cups, the heyday, the dynasty, right up until 1988, when his contract and soul were sold to America. Most of Canada would remember that cheerful press conference.
I'm disappointed about having to leave Edmonton. I truly admire all the fans and respect everyone over the years.
Wayne crying tears of joy at finally leaving northern small-town Alberta.
Promised Mess I wouldn't do this.
For the bright lights big city of Hollywood. I'm finally cashing in, I think he said. At least that's the way I remember it. Hard to hear him through the tears. Here's another blast from the past on that hot August day. Businessman, Oilers owner Peter Pocklington. He also cashed in by selling Wayne to L.A. Peter Puck.
And it's with mixed emotions, a heavy heart for our community and our hockey club that I announce, and I guess more important, confirm, that the Edmonton Oilers have agreed trade Wayne Gretzky to Los Angeles.
Little known fact that a month later, Pocklington attempted to trade Gordon Lightfoot to England for Cat Stevens and a second-round Fokie, but it never went through. You know, up to that time, Wayne Gretzky's endorsement potential was just not being realized. I mean, come on. GWG jeans and 7-Up? Remember those ads?
They're looking at me. GWG. They're looking at me. GWG. They're looking at me. Feeling 7-Up. I'm feeling 7-Up. Sharing smiles. Feeling 7-Up.
GWG Great Western Garments. 7-Up, the Uncola. I'm sure he was well compensated, but now he was on his way to L.A., La La Land, Levi's and Coca-Cola. That's where the big money is. Alas, Edmonton. You know, they had their day. They appreciated the Wayner. A sign went up, City of Champions. I think it's still up. 35 years, no championship, but you know, the sign says. You don't argue with the sign. They did have a couple of Grey Cups there, so technically that was a championship. The Edmonton Eskimos. And boy, they really fought hard to keep that name, didn't they? They fought like champions. But now it's the Elks. Elks, not affiliated with the local Elks Club. Elks. So tough, we could pull Santa's sleigh. If the reindeer go extinct, you wouldn't even see a difference. So now they're the Elks, but you know, if we really want to be socially sensitive and politically correct, the hockey team should actually change their name to the Edmonton Renewable Energy. As crazy as that sounds, Edmonton actually named a major thoroughfare Wayne Gretzky Drive. And now a petition is gaining momentum to withdraw that honor and rename the street. If you had said that in Edmonton even a few months ago, you'd be exiled to Kelowna. But not now. Now they're actually considering it. They're thinking about it. You know, Detroit almost changed a street name in honor of Michael Jackson and then canceled. York Region in Ontario changed Johnny MacDonald Public School to Nokita Public School. Nokita, an indigenous word meaning let's all work together. Johnny MacDonald is a Scottish word that means assimilate the redskin. Ryerson University is now Toronto Metropolitan. Every Canadian honor bestowed upon Buffy St. Marie is slowly being ripped up. Well, you know, facts come to light. Attitudes change. Names change. And I got no problem with cancel culture, by the way. The only people that want to cancel culture is the people whose culture we're trying to cancel. Wayne Gretzky Drive could be, well, how about Connor McDavid Drive? He hasn't actually won anything for Edmontonia, but he's come close, and he did score that big goal in the Four Nations face-off to win the tournament for Canada over the now much-hated USA. Heck, 2 McDonald's restaurant locations changed their name to McDavid's in honor of that goal. One in Edmonton and one in his hometown of Newmarket, Ontario. And yes, it was only temporary. But I'm just saying, his name is available as long as he keeps his mouth shut about who he votes for. Connor McDavid Drive. Oh, Edmonton, if you're in the name-changing mood, the Oilies play their home games at Rogers Place. You know who likes hanging around Mar-a-Lago and getting his picture taken with Donald Trump? Executive Chair Edward Rogers. Just throwing it out there. So right after the aforementioned Four Nations tourney, that's when Wayne's reputation among Canadians started sitting in the penalty box. It was a perfect storm situation. Let me set this up. Let me chronicle this. First, we should have seen Wayne's Trumpian ways coming when he endorsed Stephen Harper back in 2015. Harper even had Wayne up on stage with him, despite the fact that Wayne Gretzky is not allowed to vote in Canada. Wayne is listed as a dual Canadian-U.S. citizen, so he can vote for Trump. I imagine he did. In Canada, because of the way we vote, expats like Gretz cannot vote in Canadian elections, because you and I in Canada, we don't directly vote for a prime minister. We vote for a member of parliament in our own riding, our district. I live in the Greater Toronto area, I can't decide to vote for a riding in Manitoba, i.e. expats don't live in any Canadian riding, so they can't just pick one at random and decide to vote there. That's the main reason we have that law. Expats cannot vote in a federal election. If we ever did vote directly for a prime minister, that might change. Side note, Pierre Poilievre wants to change that law. How he sees it working is beyond me. So Wayne can only vote USA. And his wife is American, model actress Janet Jones. Model actress. How many years have to pass before you should stop saying that? Anyway, his 5 kids are all U.S.-born Americans. None of them really into politics. Well, except for Paulina, who was mayor of Skankville up until 2013 when she married golfer Dustin Johnson. The other prominent sibling is Trevor Regretzky. He played in the minors for the Chicago Cubs and the LA Angels. Never made the bigs, but still a pretty good ball player. After retiring from baseball, he went into acting. He's been in movies that you've never heard of, but with the likes of Mark Wahlberg and Bruce Willis. Small parts, albeit, but who knows, one day. And the Oscar goes to Trevor Regretzky. Well, I doubt it, but just saying. Hey, you want to feel old? Most of his kids are in their 30s. Wayne himself looks pretty good, I think, for 78. Too bad he's only 64. And if the names Keith and Brent Gretzky come to mind, those are Wayne's younger brothers. Both played hockey, both in the NHL. Teams that wanted a Gretzky on their squad but couldn't afford Wayne. They did not achieve the great hockey success that Wayne did. I guess Walter liked Wayne best. Wayne and Janet go full MAGA. They are regulars at Mar-a-Lago, deluxe suite, but they have to share a bathroom with some classified documents. They attend a Trump election party. They get really good seats at the second Trump inauguration. Trump immediately begins taunting and baiting Canada by saying we should just become the 51st state, further suggesting that Wayne Gretzky be the prime minister and, eventually state governor. And that's all very sad. And although Wayne is eerily silent through all of this, still no real reason to change a street name quite yet. Until Trump introduces tariffs against Canada. We threaten to retaliate. Suddenly there's a big divide between us. Bad blood. All orchestrated by Pumpkinhead. And a new wave of Canadian patriotism surges forth. And as Canadians, we do about the only thing we can do to show our true colors. We boo the U.S. anthem at NHL games. But then the Four Nations Cup, the big tournament, which comes down to one final game in Boston, U.S. v. Canada. The finals occur exactly 1 month after inauguration, and it's already been a Trump shit show. Wayne Gretzky is named by the NHL as honorary Team Canada captain. Now, the honorary U.S. captain, he wears a team jersey and cheers on his team. Wayne Gretzky wears a suit and tie, not even a red tie, and mumbles his way through a good luck. Wayne is seen giving the U.S. squad a thumbs up as he walks by their bench. Very sportsmanlike, I'm sure, but hardly the time. And after a hard-fought win for the Canadians, he had very little to say about the Canadian Championship. This was the proverbial last straw. Added to all the rest of the Trump cordiality, hockey and non-hockey fans alike are saying, hey Wayne, pick a country. Well, he has, hasn't he? And it appears to be the one where he has amassed his $260 million fortune. USA. USA. Incidentally, it seems only 2 prominent Canadians have come to Wayne's defense, as in, give the guy a break. Not surprisingly, one was Ontario Premier Doug Ford, the self-appointed Trump fighter, and Don Cherry, the grape one, who seemed to advise Wayne to just keep quiet, and it'll all blow over. That's what Don said. And Wayne appears to be taking his advice. He's quiet. Too quiet. Could it be that Wayne is just keeping his mouth shut to protect his money and any, future monies? I don't know. Maybe he's just an idiot. Maybe it's just my hindsight trying to be 2020. But I remember back in the day when they would interview this new phenom player, I would say, there's something just not right about that boy. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Not playing with a full deck. A few tomatoes short of a good sauce. A few fries short of a Happy Meal. The lights are on, but nobody's home. The wheel is spinning, but the hamster's dead. Well, you know what I mean. Maybe he was just hit in the head a few too many times. I mean, by the time they hired Messier to protect him, maybe the damage was already done. Remember the old pictures, the helmet that Wayne wore? It would hardly protect you from raindrops. Or maybe he just never learned anything. We've always heard the stories of how Wayne spent all that time on that backyard Brantford rink. We never heard about Wayne doing all of his homework or bringing home a stunning report card. Maybe he's just dumb. Forrest Gump, dumb. Stupid is as stupid does, while falling back-asswards into money. Because you cannot be a smart person and endorse Donald Trump. That is just a fact. Wayne Gretzky endorses Donald Trump. If not with his words, then with his actions. And now we have to decide how many streets and rinks and what have yous we're going to name after him. We can't revoke his citizenship. I wish we could. Wayne definitely is facing a backlash. He's probably not used to that. Or maybe Wayne was already over, and this whole Trump stuff just rubber-stamped it. I mean, he used to endorse Nike. Now he's a spokesperson for Regretzky, a vaccine recommended for seniors against RSV, a respiratory illness. Oh, and by the way, I still say respiratory, even though somewhere along the line in the last couple of years it's changed to a respiratory. I don't like respiratory. Respiratory. It's odd in a way that the three greatest hockey players of all time, all Canadians, come into play here. The three greatest. We rarely even argue anymore which one is one, which one is two, which one is three. They're all equally great. And I'm talking about Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, and Gordie Howe. Three of the greatest that ever played. I just talked about Wayne, but back in 2020, Bobby Orr made it known and felt the need to make it known that he would be voting for Trump. He took out a full-page ad in the New Hampshire Union Leader newspaper, endorsing old Carrot Skin. First Bobby, now Wayne. Regretzky.
Promised Mess I wouldn't do this.
Coincidentally, this year, Alexander Ovechkin is coming very close to beating Wayne Gretzky's long-standing NHL record for most NHL goals scored in a career. He might beat it by season's end. If he doesn't, I'm sure he'd come back next year for at least enough games to get it done. Many ironies here. One, Ovechkin's Russian, and a proud one who openly supports Vladimir Putin. 2017, he founded Putin Team, a social media movement to positively promote the Russian dictator-killer. Ovechkin has a personal relationship with Putin. Is it as good as Trump's? I don't know. So a Putinized Russian could take away the NHL record currently held by the Trumpian expat Canadian. And of course, Ovechkin plays for the Washington Capitals, the Washington, D.C. Capitals. It's all very layered and awkward. The Washington Capitals and the Oval Office, both American teams who have a Russian calling the shots. They asked Gretzky about what he thought of Ovechkin, and Wayne said, "What he's done has been incredible, remarkable, and great for the game." Wow, Wayne, way to take a stand. Way to go out on a limb there. By the way, Ovechkin and Gretzky both played about 20 seasons in the NHL, even if Ovi has to come back a little bit next year. So it's about equal time played. The record, when broken, would not need an asterisk, in my opinion. So what about Gordie Howe? How does he play into this? Well, he's long gone, and I wouldn't bring his politics into this, even if I knew what it was. However, the newfound Canadian patriotism, the proud Canadian fight against American tariffs and takeover, has a slogan. It's usually emblazoned over the Canadian flag, and it goes, "Elbows up, Canada, elbows up." That's the reference to Gordie Howe. That's how Gordie Howe went into the corners. Elbows up. much more punishing than just a body check. Like I said, Gordy's long gone, but since Bobby and Wayne are no longer on our team, at least we have the original number 9, and we're going in, elbows up.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.